Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Grand Rising, how are you?
So far, so good. Sorry about that. As soon as I said I was ready, then I don't know. These kids ask for too much stuff. So I'm here. I was like, I gotta get on my call. Please give me a break. I'm busy now. Thank you. So we're supposed to be talking about the enforcement mechanism. This is very, very interesting. Or do you have a direction you want me to go first, or what?
No, I think maybe if you could, I guess, explain how we got to this enforcement mechanism, just so because I'm sure some people won't hear the last one, so maybe kind of how you got into this enforcement mechanism recently, and then yeah, you obviously take the stage.
All right, so we have a spirit team. Everybody has spirits, entities, whatever assigned to them. And so the problem has been that even though you have these spirits assigned to you, how do you actually make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do? Because obviously there's things that take longer, there's things that take less time, there's lots of different things that are going on. And so for the longest time, I have been trying to figure out how to enforce these contracts because on my channel, we were having a lot of discussions about the spirit intelligences, which I mentioned is from the book. Um, I think it's the Book of Magical Evocation by Franz Bardon. And he's got this whole list of spirit intelligences. So for a whole year, we followed every new moon and full moon with all the assigned spirit intelligences um, based on the astrological degrees to actually attempt to contact these entities. Because before that, when I first found the book in September of 2022, I was trying to contact these entities when the moon moves into the different degrees. And that's when I found out that the moon does not move on a regular schedule. Like it doesn't have a regular schedule. Sometimes it's in a degree for an hour, sometimes it's in a degree for almost a whole day. It really depends. And that's because again the moon is it controls our emotions and it's masculine in nature, so it really depends on what has to be done. That's how the moon moves. Okay, so I was doing these experiments, like trying to contact each one, trying to figure out what the energy was like. And so it was like, okay, well, assign it to the new moons and the full moons, because then you have a longer time period to see how this plays out, because the moon hits every degree in the zodiac every 29.5 days. So if you needed to get into contact with a specific entity, you know that you could get into contact with that thing during these 29 and a half days before the cycle starts over. So we moved to doing new moons and full moons. So in the process of doing the new moons and the full moons, I told my people, and it was just a very small group of us, document everything, like what you asked for, because we were using fire magic, which is basically candles. And so it's like, put your request on the candle. Then I developed an actual sheet. Then sometimes we were doing write, burn, or releases, where you would write down what you want and burn it. Sometimes we do write and post, where you're it was just a lot of different parts to try to connect with these entities, while in the meantime keeping very documented records on if these entities did what they were supposed to. Now, I we did this for a whole year, from September of 2023 to September of 2024. In September 2024, I said, we're not going to do this for a while, because I noticed that I was not getting the results that I expected. In some places, I was getting lots of results. In some places, I wasn't getting any results. Mainly anything related to finances, money, monetary, any of that stuff, anything that I needed to physically move me out of the situation that I was in, no response. Everything else was fine. And so in September of 2024, and that was right before the election too. So um we had to refocus on I had to refocus my energy on ensuring that there was no funny business that went on with the election. So that was all that stuff just got put on a pause because that was a more important thing. But at the same time, I was trying to go back and see why these different entities weren't responding the way that I expected, because you have degrees. I mean, we're always charging through degrees of the zodiac. These things are supposed to be done. So I was like, okay, well, if I have this contract, so and then another part of this is every September there is a church new year, but it's also the fiscal new year, and it's literally in the finance system. The fiscal new year starts September the 1st, and then what happens is by October the 1st, they have their financial plan for the year, and basically that's when in October, that's when they start firing people, hiring people, that kind of stuff based on whatever their plan is for the whole year. So if you work for especially a big business, you will notice they start making all of their changes, acquisitions, and all this stuff in October. And that's because the fiscal new year starts in September the 1st. And that's when you make your contract with your spirit team, your entities, your creator, whoever. And then October the 1st is when you start to work on it. So this is how all these companies operate. Now, as a part of this, you have to understand that this was the way the church operated because people had to make their pledges to the local temples. Because remember, we discussed this with the Babylonian Empire and the kings and the priests. The church was responsible for taking care of the widows, the sick, the convalescent, old people who didn't have anyone to take. They were responsible for all these people. So that responsibility, especially when you're talking in a society where you don't go and buy food, it literally has to deal with like who makes which farmer is going to give us this, which farmer is going to give us that, so that they knew where they had to try to make up for so that everybody could eat. Because remember, this is a this all this stuff comes from a society where physical money like wasn't like introduced like that. It wasn't a consumer society like that. They operated differently. So in September, that's when everybody would make their pledges to the church. Okay, I'm going to give the church X amount of lambs this year. I'm going to give them X amount of barley, X this, X that. That's when all of these pledges were made. So the church knew, the priests knew how to operate to make sure everybody could eat throughout the year. Okay, so that's part of this. So where the enforcement comes in is if you know you have a spirit team, a group of people assigned to you, and you've asked them to do something, and you're documenting it, right? You're watching this very closely, and you're noticing it's not getting done. You have to have a way. First of all, you have to know what the consequence is that they don't like. That's first. Second of all, you have to know how to call that consequence down. So the love and light people on the spiritual side will never get to this because it requires you to be serious enough to call the consequence down. And nobody wants to do that on the love and light side. They just say, oh, well, give it more love, give it more light, give it whatever. And then on the opposite side, the people who are just gloom and doom, they don't want to do this either because you have to give these entities more notice. You have to give them a chance to make it right. You have to be fair. And the gloom and doom people don't want fairness because they just want to see destruction. So you have to be mature enough in order to walk this middle path of, I don't want to do this, but I will if I have to. And this is being modeled on a wide scale with how America is handling all these trade negotiations and all this stuff, if only people weren't so emotional about it. But regardless, the so what I did now, again, I keep copious notes, copious records of almost all the experiments I do. especially as it relates to these spirits, because I don't, again, I always say, I don't know how it works. I don't know exactly what the rules are. I don't know what's going to happen. And I want to be able to say, this is a result of when I did this. This is a result of when I did that. It has to be very clear and very obvious to me, especially if I'm going to present it to other people to say, this is why you should do this and this is how you should do this. Okay. So since I kept copious notes for a whole year of every single spirit intelligence I contacted, what I asked for, all of this stuff based on the energy and all of that, I went back over my list. Now, I do recommend people do this kind of thing because you have to know the name of the entity. You have to know where they're located, what they're assigned to, what they can do. Part of the problem with people in this realm is that they don't want to choose a system to operate under. Meaning, if you deal with the church, then you have a religious system to operate under. There's lots of religious things that can be documented with that. If you're going to go the Bardon route, if you're going to go the demon route, whatever route you're going to go, you have to pick a route and then you have to document your experiments and you have to give it enough time to see exactly what happened. So me, like I said, I use Bardon's information. Um, it resonates fine with me. So I know exactly the name of the entity, the degree placement of the entity, and what exactly it is that they do. Okay. So what I did was I went back and I wrote down, I keep notes. So I wrote down my whole list for the whole year that I did this, all the stuff that I asked for. Um, all the stuff that I asked for. Each degree point is, I have several different things. I have the constellation entities, I have degree point entities, and I also have elementals and saints. So I wrote all of them down to do an inventory of all the ones I contacted. And then I gave them a score. I ranked them from one being the worst, to nine being perfect. And so you can do this like on your own by seeing, especially again, if you keep notes on the things that you asked for, did you get it? Like, you have to compare the notes. And now is the time to do this, because when September the 1st comes, you have to recite your contract. Now, why is it September? It's for this enforcement, because there's a day in September, September the 29th, that is called the Day of Atonement. Okay. um Beside this being the church new year, the Day of Atonement is the day that the creator, quote unquote, visits the planet, right? This is that energetic thing. And so on this day, this is the day that you literally devote to spending with the creator. Now, this again, the Israel people do observe these days, but their count of the calendar, public their public count of the calendar, is wrong. And so people who observe it on the day that they say to observe it is actually observing it on the wrong day. So your calendar has to be right. You can't even get to this point if your calendar is not right. And so this is why all of this stuff matters. So, but it doesn't matter. There's still, whether they count the calendar right or not, there's a Day of Atonement. The creator comes to the planet and sees what's going on with his people. And so if you say, like, that this day is coming, you can say, you know, in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit, okay, I don't want such and such entities to work with me anymore because they didn't do their job. Now, what's going to happen to them? Well, it's in the Bible. This is where you go into the parables that Jesus said, and you start to understand what is going on. So there's a parable that I read today for this galactic moon that has to deal with um it has to deal with a servant who, okay, you're a servant, and you're the one who was put in charge of the servants. And it talks about how the servant never knows when the master is coming. So the wise servant treats everybody with respect, does what they're supposed to do, and is real friendly because they don't know when the creator is coming. So they're very nice and respectful about their behavior. Then you have the wicked servant. And what the wicked servant does is the wicked servant starts drinking. The wicked servant starts beating the other servants. The wicked servant starts just, creating this mess because the wicked servant doesn't know when the master is coming either. And instead of being ready, the wicked servant is not ready. And so what happens is when the master shows up, when the creator shows up, the wicked servant who has not done what they're supposed to do, in the Bible, it says that the master cut the servant in two. I was like, oh, okay. He cut him in two, like literally destroyed him and gave his lot, like his stuff to, who do they call them? These individuals who are the mockers, like gave that person stuff to the people who he was mocking, literally. And so they know that this happens. Like the Jesus parables lay out a clear enforcement mechanism. It's either that they get cut into or they get cast into the outer darkness. So they don't want to get cast into the outer darkness. They definitely don't want to be cut in two. So that means they have to do what needs to be done. But you have to be methodical in the way that you operate, because the parable that was slightly before that was in the scripture reading, was about the master who didn't know that it said if a master knew when a thief was coming to his house, he would have been prepared. But you don't know when the thief is coming. So there's this balance of, you don't know when the thief is coming to try to take you out, and then you don't know when the master is coming to collect on what he's given you to watch over. So it's a very delicate balance of this information and of how this stuff plays out. So if they know the Bible, like these entities, they all know the Bible. Is because it's just everyone knows it. Like you have to assume that they know the Bible, they know these stories, because a lot of these stories, of course, in my research on the Bible, come from older stories. Like there's a Babylonian text that's like 3 volumes, but I think it's like 30,000 lines, and it's called "If a Something is on a Hill." If a I can't remember if there's a something on a hill, but it's literally 3,000 lines of omens, and a lot of what is in the Bible is repackaged from that. If a city is on a hill, that's what it's called. If a city is on a hill, so it's like 30,000 lines of omens, and so a lot of what's in the Bible comes from those omens, like things that don't make sense in the Bible. If you look into that book, if a city was on a hill, from the Sumerian text, it will tell you why they were so like crazy about certain things and other things didn't matter. It was literally like the way that they did their culture. So the Bible is basically just like a synopsis and a culmination of all these other texts, this other wisdom that people use, because the stuff did happen. It happened the way that it did all the time, and so they kept the records. This is why you have to keep the records. So if you have the records of when something happens, when whoever does what they're supposed to do, when the time comes for the creator to come to the planet and see, hey, I left these servants, which the spirits are servants. They're servants, just like we're servants. They're servants to us, and we're servants to them. Like we're fellow servants. He left these servants, these spirit intelligences here to work with us. Now, did they do their job? And if they didn't, two things: he gonna cut them in half, or he's gonna cast them into the outer darkness. That's the enforcement mechanism. But you can't have the enforcement mechanism if you don't know the time, and you don't know the time if you don't know the calendar. You don't know the calendar if you don't understand the astrology to know when these things were assigned to these people. So because I waited a whole year, so now we're on September of 2025. The last full moon, whatever ritual I did, like where I actually specifically wrote down all the stuff I asked for, was in September of 2024. That's a whole year. We're talking about a 2-year process. If these entities have not done their stuff by now, you can assume they're not going to do it. So for me, when I did this inventory for myself, what I found is that the saints 100% of the time did exactly what I asked for. Exactly. They all got, almost all of them got perfect scores. There was a couple that's like, why didn't this happen? But I think I picked the wrong entity or something like that, asked them at the wrong time. But the saints, all of the church stuff that I did was 100%. Those entities were 100% on. The constellations, oh, and also the elementals. So let me talk about the elementals a little bit. They're a little bit more difficult to work with in general, the elementals are, but there's more variety. So for example, if you're a type of person who is a air person, you will work with fairies. If you're an earth person, you will work with gnomes. If you're a fire person, you will work with salamanders. Water, you would work with undines. So that may be something, but they're all assigned different parts of the year. So the thing, when I went back and did my inventory of my spirit intelligences, I realized I picked it. They don't line up the same way that the different they're called the spirits girdling the zone of earth. They don't line up the exact same way. So I would interact with them differently in the future. But the point of the matter is, they all did what they were supposed to do. Again, another group that did exactly what they were supposed to do. So from now on, I'm for sure recommending people find your saint. Like, first and foremost, before anything else, find your saint and work with your saint. Like, that's gonna be my top recommendation. Second of all, elementals, if you're a good person, you're not, again, not engaged in a bunch of wickedness, not sending them out here to do crazy stuff, the elementals are going to be great. They're going to get the job done. You're not going to be like left trying to figure out like where the pieces are. Then after that is the constellations. I had 4 different constellations that did not meet my standards. Now, this is important because I do believe this is the constellations that they're using to do their wickedness, because there's no way. I mean, it's just too random that all the other constellations was pretty good, except for, let me see, Libra, and Libra is the scales. Libra is justice. And so, are these people not trying to avoid justice? Are these people not trying to make sure the scales stay tipped in their favor? So, yeah, and I had 3 interactions with Libra. The next one is Sagittarius. What is Sagittarius? Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So, that's abundance. That's the fullness. And it's like, not just like, you know, Sagittarius is not just abundance, but it's fun abundance. And so I thought it was really interesting that my Sagittarius energy didn't come through the way that I wanted to, because in the winter of 2023, I announced a thing that we did, a operation, a what would I call that? A spiritual operation that we did. We do operations around here like war games. It was called Operation Holly Jolly. And based on the astrology, I had told people, hey, this astrology is looking kind of weird. So that means I think they're probably going to be using this for some negativity. So I had told people, and of course, no one wanted to hear it. They were very upset. Go to all the holiday events, smile the smiles, buy the gifts, be happy, do all the things to tap into this holly jolly energy, because you are basically laying the foundation for that thing, that energy to be tied to you. Because what happens usually around Christmas is what? Especially if you have kids, or I mean, not even especially, just in general, what normally happens is around Christmas, they start doing all this crazy stuff. Well, actually, for sure, what happens is they try to make people fight with each other. That's for one. That's what the whole Black Friday and all that stuff is, to start off the season with a bunch of ridiculous fighting over a bunch of stuff that doesn't even matter. And then they have people so messed up with their families, like they don't want the people, don't talk to your family. Oh, you don't eat this, you don't eat that. We don't celebrate like this, we don't celebrate like that. Or to make people sad because, oh, you don't have nobody to celebrate with, nobody loves you, nobody bought you any gifts, none of that stuff. They just try to force people into negative emotions. So I had told people, I said, put on your Santa hat, smile and nod everywhere you go, and be happy and be jolly. I literally called it Operation Holly Jolly. And people was really upset because they're like, I don't celebrate holidays, and those holidays are evil and wicked and this and that. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. The holiday is here to remind you of what it is you're supposed to do. Something really interesting happened during that time period. This Parasite Equity company that one of my friends works for, that's when they chose to do their employee appreciation week. One of several they do, I guess, per year. And it's like, why would they do it at this time? Well, because they're trying to harvest all that good energy and say, what? Hey, when the creator comes to check us out, look, we did the things. We were nice. We have this positive energy. So these entities are using this stuff. But when I, when you try to use it, they try to make it seem like what you're doing is, oh, messed up, you shouldn't do that. So it's like they deliberately put humanity, especially Americans, in a particular energetic bubble so that you will harvest all of the consequences that they've been sowing all year. And they've been doing this for years. Like that was the in 2023, that was the first, no, that was the first one that I did. We did it again in 2024. But in 2022, I had another operation called Operation Tiny Toons. And it was the same thing, except the focus was on showing love to people, because that was when I was arguing with these girls on the internet and they went way out of proportion and things were just going out of control and everybody was arguing and fighting. And I was like, okay, this does not make any sense, because this is supposed to be Christmas, the happiest time of the year. And here you got black men and women fighting over Cardi B and Offset and Megan the Boy Horse and Tory and all this stuff. They was just, everybody was, and Kevin saying, everybody was just arguing. And I was like, okay, we have to change our behavior. We have to do something different to cut through this energy. And as a result of that operation, that's when we started canceling the contract. So I've been doing these kind of spiritual operations successfully since 2022. So I know this kind of stuff works. So when I found out that September was the time period where you can set your new contract, and now I know you can also enforce the contracts. Again, I just didn't know what the enforcement was, but now I understand. Cast these entities into the outer darkness. Now there's people who have people on their spirit team and they don't understand that these people are not helping them. And there's nothing that can be done for people who will not look at every single person. I mean, I have spirit, because in your chart you have spirit intelligence assigned to you, right? Based on the degree placement of the planets in your chart. Like, I'm willing to cast the ones that are assigned to me because it's a lot. Like, oh, well, let me finish with the constellations before I go into that. So I said, okay, the other one was Capricorn. I said Sagittarius. Capricorn is the other one. On Cancer. Let me talk about Capricorn for a minute. So Capricorn is, and I interacted with that. I asked 5 times for this entity to do something for me. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Okay, so it's Saturn 1. It's the most aggressive form of Saturn. And so Saturn has to deal with time. And so basically, you have these people trying to what? Force the time. We're supposed to have a 9-day week. They gave us a 7-day week. We're supposed to have a 40-month year. We've got a 40-week year. We have a 52-week year. We're supposed to have holidays, market days. Things are supposed to be done in a certain way. They changed everything and told us, no, 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 we're not anything the way that they're supposed to do. This is them forcing that Saturn energy. So when I'm asking Capricorn energy to do something, they're not doing it because these entities have obviously bound them so that they can't get the certain things done. And then the last one, of course, Cancer. Cancer is the moon. The moon is literally the most important energy on this planet. It is literally It's like the satellite for this planet, beaming in the energies from further out in space. And so if they control the emotions, again, it all ties in together. Cancer is emotions. If they control the emotions through their propaganda system, then basically they're getting away with murder. And they literally are getting away with murder. Like, you can see that. So those 4 signs I thought was really important. So that's Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, and Sagittarius. And so Libra's ruled by oh my goodness. Libra is ruled by Venus. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And Cancer is ruled by the moon. So those are the 4 entities that they have been using to control the planet. Because those are the ones I did not have the success with. And so
Can you repeat? So Cancer is the moon,
Cancer
right?
is ruled by the moon.
Capricorn is Saturn.
Is Saturn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
And Libra is ruled by Venus.
Okay, got it.
So those are the 4, and those energetic points line up because I have something I call world points. Not exactly, because one of them is flipped, but I have a calculation I did called world points, and the world points are basically in Cancer season, Libra season, Sagittarius season, and Capricorn season. Like it, so they're literally working with the energy, but they're using it in a way that is extremely wrong to control their whole system. Like anyway, so that was one part. So when I went and looked at my own spirit intelligence, this is important because everybody's got different ones in their chart. Like I said, it's highly specific to your chart. Now, I do these readings like where I tell you who the spirit intelligence is, how you can contact them, what they're like, all that, because I have, like I said, I did extensive research on all of these entities. I have contacted every single one. They all know who I am. Before I started doing any of this new moon and full moon stuff, I had already done a ritual to connect myself to them. So I'm very familiar with all these entities, right? And so in my personal chart is 2 that have not, I say they have been a complete failure. And it's really unfortunate because these, like, my chart is pretty difficult. It's a difficult chart. And so I was trying to figure out where my resources were. Like, why don't I have resources? Like, I know I'm supposed to have it. Where is it in my chart? Well, in my chart, it's really like weird. So it's not like direct, like, oh, somebody's just going to hand you money. It's kind of like, yeah, you kind of have to go over here and do this thing that has nothing to do with the money that you actually want. And then it's supposed to just like randomly appear. Like, that's how my chart is set up. I'm not supposed to, again, a barterpreneur. I'm not supposed to work for money. I'm supposed to go over here and solve problems. And as I solve the problems and do the work like this that I'm doing, the resources are supposed to appear. That's how my whole life has been. So the fact that it's not, somehow in the last 3 years it got unplugged, is unacceptable to me. Well, not in the last 3 years, probably like the last 4 years. Since 2020, when they tried to reset the time and do all the stuff, that's when that's when everything started getting extremely difficult, where I had never had these problems before. So for me, I have a very rare placement in my chart, which is I can't do that right now, which is an opposition between uh Uranus and Chiron. So Uranus is the planet that is unexpected. It does not spin vertical, it spins horizontal like a wheel. And Chiron is the planet of your woundedness. So this opposition I have is so rare. It's like basically nobody has even written on it. And the last time it happened was literally the year that I was born. So this is not even something that's even going to happen again for like another, I think, 100 years or something. Like, it's a this is not a cycle that is like people have this happen all the time. It's very rare. So as a result, that is exactly like that is baked into my chart. So the two entities that's assigned to those points in my chart, my Uranus and my Chiron, are entities that literally, if they work together, I'm supposed to be basically making money from doing trading and games, different kind of trading, which I learned how to trade. I know how to trade. All the pieces are there, but except they're also responsible for bringing the resources for me to start to trade, and that's where the problem came. Like, they did not show up the way they're supposed to. So this is how this played out in my life, and these are the two entities I'm the most frustrated with, because this doesn't even make any sense. I had got into, now I had been in crypto a long time ago, like a long time ago, 2010, maybe 2011. I had gotten to crypto and all this stuff, and I had bought a bunch of Bitcoin and all of that. And the more I researched about it, I was like, I don't like this because I don't understand. Again, like I said, who's the customer for this? Why would people want to do this? If I can use a credit card, why do I need a Bitcoin? Like, I just couldn't understand who the customer for this was, except if you're doing some criminal activity. Like, why do you need this as an average person? I just didn't understand it. And also, I have a problem with the way that they do the interest with these. Anyway, just long story short, I had a problem. And so I had, maybe it was 2015. It might have been 2015. So I had bought some Bitcoin. I had bought some other like little coins and stuff. So then we started doing ICOs. And so I was with this group, we was doing it on Facebook or whatever at the time, and the ICOs would come up and we'd buy the coins and no problem. And then all of a sudden, this one ICO comes up. We try to go and buy the coins and this and that. The website shuts down. It's a whole rug pull. Now, at that time, you're talking about 2010, I mean 2014, 2015. It wasn't really a lot of, it must have been 2015. Wasn't really a whole lot of rug pulling going on because people didn't understand how it worked. Like, so it was a whole extremely weird situation where you got these people buying this coin and then like the whole website disappears. It's just, a big giant mess. And so at that point I was like, okay, so if this is how they operate on a small scale before there's even a lot of people who even know what crypto is, let me remove myself from this space, because this is not good. Like, you can't be treating people like this and getting away. This is just like a complete scam. And so I removed myself. I sold my Bitcoin. I took my money and I kept it pushing. And I didn't even think back about it. Now, what happened was, I was working with this lady and this guy off the internet again, and they were like, okay, we're going to get involved in this crypto. We're going to learn how to trade, all of that. Except this time, this particular individual, he set it up so that we actually learned how to trade, not just trading these little coins, but how to do other kinds of trading, specifically forex trading. And so even though it was like in like buying these coins and doing this trading and stuff like that, we were learning everything else related to trading too, like stocks, like I said, forex and all of that. And so in the process of that, there's a guy, his name is Chris Unseen. He's got a YouTube channel. He comes along, sees what this guy is doing, is like, listen, I trade Forex and I will tell you my system, how I do it, all this stuff. I'll give it to you for free, because he had gathered this group of people to teach other people how to trade for free. So I learned everything about Forex. At this point, I could trade Forex all day. It would be super easy. I could make a lot of money. But what happened was, because of the crypto scam, that they did a rug pull because too many black people got involved. And so as soon as a bunch of these black people get involved and people was putting in $10,000 into this coin and all this stuff, they literally took the money and ran. This company, it's called Berry, took the money. Also run by Binance. Binance is the one who bought up all these little crypto exchanges and whatever. So, if you trust Binance, I would never. But they closed the exchange. They had made all these promises to us or whatever. But by that time, we had already started to transfer into trading Forex. So he said, okay, this time with the Forex thing, we're going to do it differently. I'm telling people, he has said, don't put a bunch of money into it. Start with a small amount, learn how to trade, whatever. So we were every day going in for like 3-4 months, going in, learning how to trade on the Forex. So I'm pretty much an expert at that. I know a lot about trading. So that is what's assigned to me in my astrological chart. So I learned that part. But the whole process was I didn't have the money to trade. Somebody gave me money, but it was like a booby trap. Like it was it wasn't in good faith. Let me just put it this way. It wasn't in good faith. Like the person had good faith, but the whole scenario wasn't in good faith. And so as a result, I have not been able to even utilize the skill that I know that I have. Like it's crazy. And so I got a problem with my spirit team in that regard because that's how I'm supposed to make money. Because if you know anything about the Forex, you can get these robots to trade for you. You don't even have to be involved in that. And if you let the robots trade for you, you don't even have to touch it. The company, you let a company set it up, they'll call you and say, oh yes, you've made 80% return, you're gonna have to pay us the 20% or whatever they charge. You write them a check and make the payment, and you keep on moving. That's how easy it is. It turns it into a passive income source that you do not have to actually be every 5 minutes looking at your phone trying to figure out how to do the trading. That's how it's supposed to be. So because I have this in my chart and this is how I'm supposed to operate, and they are literally hindering my ability to operate in this fashion, that's when I started looking for, okay, how do I get these people off my team? Because if they're not going to do the basic things of, hey, she has in her chart to learn how to trade, and they brought me through this long, complicated process so that I could learn how to trade. When do I actually get to do that? Like, what was the point of you guys teaching me the whole thing and then not allowing me to get through the entire process and set my life up? So all I have to do is hit a couple of buttons every few days, look at my account and see how much I'm in the positive and keep moving. Like, what is going on with this? There is a problem. And so, but again, I have specific knowledge. Like I went through the process of learning my spirit team so that I knew exactly who was responsible for what. So I knew who to call out, because one thing that they've done, like the universe, in my opinion, the universe never used to be as big as it is right now. But what happened was when these spirit intelligences for the zone girdling the earth, that's what they're called, the earth zone and spirit intelligences, when they were co-opted or whatever, and they stopped performing the way that they were supposed to, what happened was the universe had to actually expand. So more stars had to be created to kind of deal with the problems that the spirit intelligences for the zone girdling the earth were not handling the way that they were supposed to. And so this thing just kept spiraling out, and now we have a universe with all of these stars, like 20,000 plus named stars, interstellar visitors, all this stuff going on, when a universe was actually supposed to be much smaller. But because these entities have not been checked and said, okay, time to get rid of them, instead of looking for more answers, let's clean house with the people we have right here. If this entity is supposed to do something and they don't do it, they need to be removed. That's really the short and the long of it. So that's one of the things that Jesus actually laid the foundation for. But again, you have people who are not, the information wasn't really for them at that time because they didn't have the technology to know how big the universe could actually be. But now we have all this technology. We know exactly where the stars are and all that stuff. This is the kind of stuff that we literally have the capacity to enforce. So the enforcement mechanism is not one that is necessarily, it can't be done on a, wait a minute, let me not say that. You have to know exactly who you're enforcing against. And that takes a lot of problems. So, or not a lot, you have to know a lot about yourself. So one of the things that happened today, like just in the news, is that they released that conversation that attorney Todd Blanche had with Ghislaine Maxwell. And it seems that all of these conspiracy theorists were lied to, right? But that was a specific message for me because I had said back in 2024, like about around this election, I said, no, all of these conspiracy people, they have to eat, they have to fulfill what they promised. They promised these people mass arrests. They promised these people justice is coming. They promised these people the truth. They have to fulfill it. They're not going to be able to, like in Trump's first term, you had all these Q people and all this stuff and all this crazy stuff going on, and they basically got away with saying a bunch of stuff that was totally untrue with no enforcement. And I said, no, no, no. They're going to have to enforce this. Like they promised the truth to these people, they're going to have to give these people the truth. And with Ghislaine coming out and saying basically Bill Clinton didn't go to that island. She didn't know he was Epstein was messing with a bunch of young girls and all this stuff, and he wasn't financing her. He was doing, and I know what she's saying is true because this how rich people do. They don't give. This is what I mean. Like rich people will give you money, right? They'll give you money to go and do a certain thing that they said that you can do. But guess what? They're not giving you the money and walking away. No, no, no. They're giving you the money and they're saying, hey, you're gonna have to bring me back some interest because that's the way that they operate. You're gonna have to pay this back. This is a loan. And if they do give you something, there's strings attached. It's not freely being given. There's an asterisk there on what exactly is gonna happen. And one of the things she said was um she got loaned the money to go buy this house in Palm Beach. And when she sold the house, she got to keep the profit, but she had to give the money back that she was loaned. She said she didn't have access to all those accounts. This is exactly how these rich people operate. So what she's saying sound right to me. But if you don't deal with those kind of people, you might be like, well, maybe it's not right. But guess what? To me, this is the whole concept of conspiracies being thrown away. Like you can't have a conspiracy if this is how these people really are. Like if the truth is Epstein got killed over $25 in commissary, which is what she said. What you can't argue with that. You know he wasn't. You know, did the government lie? Yeah, they're propagandists. But did he probably get killed for $25 in commissary? Probably, probably. They probably set up a whole thing. It wasn't no. It wasn't the kind of conspiracy that they tried to tell, and that's why they moved her to the lower, um, prison because what they indicted her for, what they convicted her for, is it didn't even happen. They just needed to keep this propaganda going, and they used her as a useful vessel to keep the propaganda, to keep people spinning it on a wheel. So now you're going to start to see the whole truth community come. I mean, they've already been coming unhinged. I've been noticing it, but I couldn't figure out how, like, what was going on, but now I can see it. Yeah, the whole conspiracy community is becoming unhinged. These people are falling apart at the seams because everything they believed it was actually a lie. And she said that, like, she thought that some of the stuff she didn't even know until she saw it in a newspaper. Now, how is it that this stuff is about you and you didn't know this stuff until you read it somewhere else? So that means it's a lie. Someone lied. And so the people who believe the government is going to tell them the truth have to be reconciled to the fact that the government lied to them. How do they do that? I don't know. This is not going to be, I think, a very easy situation moving forward. But this is what I said, because these people have to pay for their crimes. They cannot just keep getting away with this stuff and traumatizing people with conspiracy theories. So you see the whole conspiracy theory community becoming unwound. But that was one of the things that I asked for. So again, I see certain stuff showing up. So what I did was, okay, moving forward, what I did was I wrote down all of the spirit intelligences. I gave them all a score and I ranked them. So on how successful they were, whatever. And the ones who got six, scored six or less, I wrote them down in another book. And I was like, I want these people. No, actually, what I did was I'm giving them one more opportunity to fulfill what I asked. They have until the 7th of September. And then the 7th of September, if they have not fulfilled what I asked, they're gonna have to be cast out of my cast into the outer darkness, or the creator can cut them in half. I don't care, but they're not gonna be allowed to work with me in that state at all. So that is how I dealt with it. I literally made a list, I ranked them, and if they don't, I'm giving them a second chance, a last chance, a final warning to solve the problem that I requested for them to solve. And if they don't do it, then they have to be removed from my energy.
Nice. Yeah, I think definitely, giving chances is good because at the same time, like, um, we as humans, we don't necessarily always know when is the right time to
Right,
receive what we basically have asked for. Um, while also obviously not giving these entities like too much leeway. And I think in your case, and also in my case, like we have been too lenient with these entities.
right,
And like it happened on purpose because we had to go through the experiences that we had to go through. We had to grow, we had to learn, we had to get confident. Like, there was things that we still had to figure out. So
right,
for you to have gone through the like getting the flat tire, like that for me, symbolically, it was like a graduation. It was like
right,
almost God said, "Okay, you're ready. You're ready, Sophia.
right,
You're ready for the next level, and like here is your gift, and your gift is the enforcement mechanism, because
right,
maybe before you weren't at the state that was necessary to wield this very powerful tool, whereas now, like, you are fully in your power and continuing to be in your power to wield this, because there's very few people that are, one, going to even understand the concept that is the enforcement mechanism, and two, to even be able to properly wield that. It requires a lot of wisdom, to be able to understand, like, are they really doing what they're supposed to be doing? And like, I have to basically call them out to the creator, and let the creator know that, like, they're on watch, they're on call.
right,
And on top of that, I mean, I think this also is putting a lot of pressure on us to perform, because part of the entities being able to properly serve us means that we have to properly serve ourselves. Like, we have to
right,
properly be supporting ourselves day in and day out to properly serve the Lord, to have the entities basically have zero excuse to uh not be supporting us, or playing kind of lazy. And
yeah. You
then
have to. Your nervous system has to be regulated. You can't be here all out of whack, full of parasites. Like, you have to be actively trying to keep your vessel pure, because
right.
any impurity in your vessel is going to manifest in the way that they're able to
Mhm.
respond to you.
Right, right. So with this, the Epstein thing, I mean, this was really negative to the Democrat Party. Why did they let it go?
What do you mean?
Like, why, like, during the Biden administration, why did they, like, it's almost like they like played it up.
Oh, why they let it go on? Because it's bad for
Yeah.
them. Well, because again, this has to deal with the whole propaganda wars. Like, America, the United States government is a propagandist outlet first and foremost. They realized that they could not win wars with boots on the ground. Look at what's going on in Ukraine. Like they cannot win wars with boots on the ground anymore. They win wars with propaganda. And so the United States, being the military arm of the world, is a propaganda arm. And so they let this thing go on because they use it as propaganda. Because remember, they needed an enemy. And so there's not a natural enemy. Like people are not naturally conspiracy theorists. That's not how it works. People naturally ask questions, but they're not naturally conspiracy theorists. So what they would do is give you multiple stories of the truth, so that way they could basically, I think this came out today too, if in relation to like J6, like before, if you were just wearing a hat that had Trump on it, that was protected by free speech. But they changed the rules when Biden came in to say that that was indicative of you being a member of this whatever organization, this riot. And so that's why they were able to go back and charge all these people who were maybe just at the riot and maybe they weren't even there, like Enrique Tarrio, like just because they expressed support for it, because they changed the rules on what these terrorist organizations meant. So they had to create a new group of terrorists. Like this is how this is the propaganda war that they have been operating. And so now that all of this stuff is coming out, it all has to come out. You can't just release a bit here and a piece there. No, the United States government has been engaged in propaganda against its own citizens. That have to come out, like, and people have to really understand that, because you have people like, my mother, no offense, like she says stuff and I'm like, Mom, that's not, it doesn't work like that. Like, all these people who believe in the Nesra and the Gesra and the XRP to whatever they're talking about, I'm like, none of that stuff makes sense. It's not based on anything like real, because again, once you know how the creator operates, it's pretty easy to see him where he is. But if you don't know how the creator operates, then you can see stuff and think like, oh, this is the way that he operates. So for example, people who think that the earth is flat, like you don't understand that the earth has a wobble, because you don't like women with curves, because you like women who are shaped like a board, and therefore the women with curves, you don't understand why would the creator want a flat woman. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like this is what they don't understand. It wouldn't happen. There's a wobble to the planet for a reason, because of course black women wobble when we walk. There's no other way to explain that. But if you are the type of person who doesn't understand how part of the problem with the whole flat earth thing is that the earth is vastly more large than they're saying. Like the earth is huge, but they're trying to say, oh, the earth is small compared to the sun. That's not how it works. I don't even believe that that's true. I think that they're lying about the size of the earth. So you would never understand that, and a lot of people, they just don't get it. So if you don't know the creator, then you can't see the creator in his creations. And that's where the propaganda comes in. People are so disconnected from the creator that they see creation and think that it just magically appeared on its own. So like I always say to like my mom and other people, like whatever happens, it has to be public. Like, all these people who believe, oh, they executed this person already. This is a puppet or a cyborg or whatever they say that these people are. And I'm like, no, it would have to go through the public. If they did it in private, it would basically be like it didn't happen. It's the same thing I said about the red heifer sacrifice. They can't do that sacrifice in private. Like there's a ritual they have to follow, and part of it requires them to go in front of where they're going to build this third temple and slaughter the animal on the front steps. They can't do that in private. They can't do that quietly over on the side somewhere. It would break the ritual. So this is the kind of stuff that people don't understand. But once you do understand it, then you can see how the creator operates, in things. And then you can also see where the creator is not involved in that. And then when you say that, that's when people get upset because it's like, no, that's not how it works. Like, it just doesn't work like that. But people believe this whole Q thing and this whole propaganda thing so much they don't understand that they're being propagandized. And when you tell them, hey, you're being propagandized, they get mad at you because again they don't want, that's comforting to them. Like, our, this is why I say everybody needs to know who their saint is, because you can be comforted by the fact that you got a literal saint who literally is on the other side, literally working for you, like ancestors or whatever you call them. That's fine and well, but the saints are mostly old, like they know how the spirit realm works and they can work on your behalf in that realm so that you can do what you need to do in this realm. Like, the greatest intercessor we have is the Theotokos, obviously, which is the mother of Jesus, but there's lots of other ones. Like, there's tons of them. And so people like will, and that's another reason why they attacked also like orthodoxy and to a smaller extent Catholics, because especially like the Biden administration specifically targeted Catholics, because why? The Catholics work with the angels, with the saints, and so they don't want people to work with these entities in the other realms because they will expose the propaganda. This is why you have a lot of, especially Orthodox Christians, and to an extent, Catholics who are down to earth, because it's the Protestants who believe that there's going to be a rapture. The Catholics and the Orthodox Christians don't believe that. So you got all these Protestants running around here waiting for homeboy Jesus to come and take them. It doesn't even say that in the Bible. Like, it don't even say that, like, at all, nowhere. They made the whole thing up. And so you've got people whose whole life hangs on the balance of homeboy Jesus coming to save them. And I called that entity out from the very beginning and was like, okay, if you coming to save these people, you need to come on. You can't have these people out here thinking that somebody is coming to get them. Like, take them where? Where are they going? Like, if you're a human, you're from Earth. So where are you going? Like, where are you taking these people? Like, what is this? And so I called them out. Like, you got to come and get these folks. You promised them you got to come get them. You need to come get them, or you're gonna have to tell them the truth. So we'll see. Maybe that'll be the next shoe to drop. Because this Epstein thing is a huge shoe to drop. People were being lied to for years about a fake blackmail ring that was being run, when a real blackmail ring is literally these senators believing that they have more power than the president. These Congress people using and abusing and raping people on the campus and of the Capitol, and just paying off their victims. Like, that's the real blackmail ring that's being run, and it's being run by the highest levels of the government against government officials. It's not people on the outside, it's people on the inside, plus whatever the CIA is doing, like whatever they're doing on this land, which is illegal. So that's the real ops being run.
Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely with, like, the Epstein, I mean, even, like, the Pizzagate, like,
Oh my gosh.
these wicked people, like, they actually feed off of that attention, like, they feed off of these
Yes.
conspiracies, so it's like because, when you're a celebrity, like, as they say, like, any press is, any
It's good
press is good
press.
press, yeah, so for them, it's like for us, seeing it from our perspective, we're looking at them like, why are they not defending themselves? Like, why did the Epstein thing not come out, the truth? But that's how they stay in power. Because if,
Yes.
if you continue to, if the masses continue to pedestalize these people, there, it's like one is feeding them that energy. And I think
Right.
what we're doing in all of this, and especially as we become empowered and like gain that sovereignty within ourselves as individuals, is we are reclaiming our power, and we're also calling our energy back.
Yes.
And we're saying, I'm not interested in, I don't care who's the president. I don't care what political, like, all of those institutions are basically falling apart and they're losing their their gravitas because we decide to not give them any energy. And that's why this conspiracy theories really, I think, ran so crazy because that was the way to get people hooked into the
Yep.
system. That was the way to get people hooked to keep feeding energy to the, the very powerful elite, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But now as like the masses are basically powerless in terms of they got no energy. There's no
Right.
energy to collect from the masses anymore, while us individually, those that are actually being empowered and doing the energetic work, like we are the ones that hold the power. We're the ones that decide what happens next. And we're not giving them any power. We see them, you know, all a joke. It's all, at
It
least the way that
is.
I see it, it's all a joke. Like it's not, it's a fucking fugazi. It doesn't matter if they got hundreds of billions of dollars, if they got trillions of dollars. Like the private equity is a great example. These are the most powerful institutions in the world, technically, currently, and we're about to take them down just for fun, just because that's what we were told to do. It's it's
Yep.
all it's all it's all a game, and I think with the enforcement mechanism and kind of what we're learning is that we're really understanding that all these entities, all these gods and goddesses are and angels and saints in many ways like we are the ones that have taken the risk to come into this reality to live out as humans. And
Right.
that is a huge honor. That is a huge responsibility. That is a huge privilege, not only that we have received, but that we decided to come down here
Right.
and enjoy this reality. And what they are here to do is to support us as we keep being empowered. Now, when we were what I would call peasants, when we were just kind of like living our lives in this chaotic milieu, in this just chaotic flow of energy, we didn't really command the power that we have now. Now
Right.
we command the power, so now the enforcement mechanism actually can be here because we can actually wield this power. Before, we were just trying to find ourselves. So now that we have this enforcement mechanism, which is essentially God telling us, like, okay, now you deserve it. Like, now you are at the level to be able to hold these entities that are here to be your servants accountable, these demons, whatever it might be. Like, now they serve you because you have passed the test. Before you were still just training. You have passed the
Right.
test, and now I know that you are going to move in my image, in my vision, in my energy. So now we wield a sword, and then, I mean, the way that I see it, like at least how I'm feeling it energetically, like it's like the system's collapsing, and now we have been given the sword to just like not only like slay the wicked, but to hold these entities accountable. Now these entities, what are they going to do? They're going to love to serve us. Before they were playing games, but now like they know who's the winning team. They know
Right.
what's good.
It wasn't obvious before if we were actually going to be successful. Like I
Right.
know
Uh-huh.
a lot of the channelers were like, "Oh, Earth has already won and we're going to be successful." And I was like, "How do they even know this?" Because like it just wasn't obvious, but now it's really obvious. And also I believe that before they had taken certain very specific entities, like again the ones who are related to my Uranus and my Chiron placement, and put them under some kind of a spell or whatever to work for them, because of course they're the ones that want to be in control of the monetary matters. They don't want anyone else to have input or say in how that thing goes. And so if somebody like me comes in and says, "Hey, I want to use this to actually run in the background silently while I go out and keep creating like I supposed to," that's unacceptable, because they need people like my energy to generate their system. And so if I'm not paying attention to their fake money, their fake crypto whatever stuff, their fake jobs, and I'm not giving them any energy at all, and I'm putting all of my energy into the actual people who have to endure these people, that's not good for them because they are so desperate for energy. If you're a creator, they need your energy more than anyone else's because everyone else is tapped out energetically. I'm not. I'm a man. I mean, I'm a generator. I'm not tapped out energetically. I still have
Yeah, we
the
tapped in.
capacity. Yeah, I still got the capacity to create. So like, let me talk about that because that's something else that I realized too. If you never heard of human design, you can go online, and just get your free human design chart, and it'll give you a basic understanding. There's manifestors, generators, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors. I'm a generator. Generators are most of the planet, 70%. And what a generator does is a generator has to wait basically to respond. And so when there's a problem, then a generator can jump in and solve the problem. If you're a manifester, what manifestors do is they basically um call out what needs to be done. They say it like out loud, like this needs to be done, that needs to be done, and then that's it. That's all they have to do because they don't have an engine. Manifesting generators are like hamster wheel. Like they just keep, you don't have to interfere with them too much. You just kind of like let them go and they'll handle it themselves. Then you have projectors, and what projectors do is they have to wait for an invitation, which is a little bit different than um other things. So like a projector, they don't have an energetic source either. It's like they don't have an engine. That's what they call it. And so they're just like waiting to respond, like but it's a waiting to respond to an invitation very specifically. And reflectors, they don't have nothing in their little charts fill in. All they do is reflect back what's going on in the current culture. So what I found out about that is that if you they the backwards way that they try to make people do stuff is this. Like, as I'm a generator, okay? So as a generator, I don't supposed to respond to anything until someone brings it to me as a problem. Like, but what they would have me do is they would have me manifest a solution. But that's not how generators work. Generators do manifest, but we're supposed to manifest in the spirit realm. So, like, what I do is I set my intention before I go to bed, or if you meditate or whatever, I ask my question: how do I manifest X? Before I go to bed. And then when I wake up, that's when I can generate the solution. That's how we're supposed to work with ourselves. If you're a manifester, it's the opposite. In the real everyday world, as a manifester, they will have you generating solutions for people, but you don't have a motor, so you can't generate. So you have to do it in the spirit realm. So for manifestors, what you would do is before you go to sleep, you would say, how do I generate this response? How do I get to this response? And then you can go around in your dream state, do all the generating you need, because guess what? You That's where you have a motor. Like, that's where your motor is. It's in the spirit realm. And so when you wake up, all you have to do is say your intention, and then it'll just come together. So they have us all backwards. So like especially in my case, because I'm a generator, they will be trying to make me manifest. Like, and I'm like, I'm not a manifest. Like, I would, like, more than once I've had to like somebody came to me with a problem, right? But they didn't, it wasn't a problem where they knew what the problem was. It was a problem like where they didn't know what the problem was, and when I tried to, they were like, well, they wouldn't even say, well, I don't know what to do about this. They would just be talking. And then because I'm not a manifestor, I'm a generator, I will be trying to manifest a solution for them. Well, if I engage in manifestation, I burn out because that's not for me. I don't do that in the physical realm. I do my manifesting in the spirit realm, which is why for me, my dreams are really important because they are my manifestations. And so when I had the dream where I had a weapon, that was my manifesting my protection, which I never had up to this point. I was never allowed to protect myself. But now I can protect myself because I manifested that in the spirit realm, I know that I can actually generate that in the physical realm. And so that's how like that part of the knowledge would work, because if you're out of alignment with what you're supposed to be doing in this whole process, like you can't, because I'm a generator, that means I need to keep good records, because I'll never be able to remember all the stuff that I do in a day. But if you're a manifester, like my friend is a manifester, she don't have to keep records like this. She just knows, and she can go and pull the information anytime she gets ready. It's not an issue. So that's why I say I always go overboard, but I'm a generator. I have to actually keep copious notes. But if you're a manifester, you can just feel it and be like, I need this, I need that. You just have to actually see your solution. Your solution got to be shown to you. And once your solution is shown to you, you can actually manifest it in the physical realm, but it won't take activity from you. Like, it will just take you identifying it. And that's the difference between manifestors and generators. Now, manifesting generators, they just have their own system. The problem with them is that they have to be directed in the right direction. So if you're dealing with a manifesting generator, like my old man is a manifesting generator, I'm a generator. So I want him to manifest, but I have to like direct him to what I want to manifest, which is a whole nother thing. But if you're a manifester, then you have to direct that person to what you want to generate. So like my friend, she's surrounded by nothing but generators. And her being the manifester means she just have to set the intention and walk away and let the generators generate the response. And getting into that flow is literally this whole concept of taking back the kingdom, because the kingdom is within. Like, it's literally in you. And so when you're able to operate in your authority and in your strength, then things will work out for you. You'll be able to do this enforcement.
What are you? You said you're a
I'm a
generator.
generator. Yeah, I'm an
Nice.
emotional generator too. So I'm very emotional. And that's another thing. Like, I never thought that being emotional was a good thing. And I always actually got talked about because I was so emotional. And then of course I did my human design, and I'm like, oh, I'm actually supposed to be emotional. So of course I'm going to be emotional about it. Like, if I have no emotion about something, then I can't generate either. Like, I can't do things I don't want to do. Like, I have to want to do it, or I'm literally cannot do it. I cannot bring myself to be interested in it. I cannot bring myself to care. And that I'm using that to my advantage. So like with my job, like they want us to care about stuff that's not my job. And so me, I just don't care about. I don't care. I have to care about what I have to care about, but the rest of that stuff is not for me to care about, and they can't force me to care about something that I don't care about. So I've learned to use my emotions as my protection. So like if I don't know how to describe this, but if somebody comes to me and they're extremely emotional about something, I can remove my emotion from the situation and give them a straight answer. Like, I told somebody the other day, I had I was they were talking about like their grandkids and stuff, and I was just like, okay, I need to tell you something, but I'm not going to tell you. She was like, well, what is it? I was like, well, I don't know how long they're going to be alive. And she was like, yeah, I kind of feel that too. And I'm like, now this is crazy. Like I had to remove the emotion from that, because everybody don't want to know when bad things are going to happen, right? Like, some people want to know, some people don't want to know. And I gave her the option. I said, I could tell you this, or I cannot tell you this, but that's how it's going to go. And I gave her the option. That was a huge like advancement for me, because normally I would hear something like that, I would get extremely emotional about it, and then I would not tell the person. It's like, no, I can't do that. I need to remove the emotion from it and say, okay, I can tell you this so you can be prepared, or I don't have to tell you, and let them make the choice. And that was just like, again, a very generator way to, because did I ask this question? Was I looking for this to give this bad news to somebody? Absolutely not. But that's what I saw. And I would be wrong if I didn't give them the option to know the truth. in advance, so that sometimes people need time to prepare themselves, and that kind of stuff used to happen to me all the time, but I would just not say anything, and I would be like, see, I told you this and that. I mean, it's much easier to go into I told you mode instead of like sitting back and saying to the person, how are we going to work this out, because dot dot dot, you know what I mean? And that's, again, this comes with knowing yourself. So I think that you were right when you were saying, you have to be mature enough in the knowledge of yourself in order to be able to enforce anything, because what you enforce on others will be enforced on you. So if I don't have the maturity to enforce things on myself, like taking the notes, being responsible, calculating the feast days, all this kind of stuff, I cannot be trusted to enforce this stuff on these different entities. And this is where the parasite equity and all these people got it wrong. They thought they could enforce these entities to do these different things without doing the work themselves to have the respect of the enforcer. Because technically it's not me doing the enforcing, right? We're not doing the enforcing. That's not what's happening. We're calling the judgment and letting the creator do the enforcing. Because in all the parables, it doesn't say that, it says that the master, whoever the master is the one that comes in and does the enforcing. It's never the other servants. A servant is not enforcing against another servant. It's a master, the person who's above those people, who come in and do the enforcing. But the servants tell you, they call forth a record. They say, hey, I took my 5 talents and turned it to 10. Hey, I took my 2 and turned it to 4. Hey, I took my 1 and buried it. Hey, the servant you put in charge of us, he did a great job. Hey, the servant you put in charge of us, he beat us. Like, all you do is make the reports. You let the master enforcing. And these parasites, believing that they are God, are the ones that have been doing the enforcing. So that's another reason why I wanted to give them, these entities, another chance, because Lord even knows what they've been doing to these things. Like, if half of what they say is true, like about Pizzagate and all this other stuff, imagine what they've been doing to these people in the spirit realm. Like, it's horrible to even think about. So you got to give them a chance for redemption. Like, that's the only fair thing to do, because the propaganda on us in the physical realm has been astounding. Imagine the propaganda in the spirit realm, where you have a parasite who sucked the literal lifeblood out of a perhaps a small child to go to this entity and tell them that such and such is doing something to them. Meanwhile, it was the parasite who did the thing to the child, which now the child's energy is in the parasite who's going to the entity to get them to do something to somebody else. That's crazy. But you have to be, if you can see like that's how all this stuff is playing out, then you have to be like willing to give them a chance to get it right.
Yep. Yeah, and we had to, like, we had to be ready for that.
Right.
And we weren't, at least not me personally. I definitely was not ready even a month ago.
Right.
Even like even 2 weeks ago. Like every day I feel more prepared than ever with both, because the enforcement, as you said, it's not like we are. I do like the idea of holding like a big stick and like,
Right.
threatening these entities when they don't do their stuff. But like really, when what you're doing when you're enforcing on your spirit guides, the team, entities, whatever it might be, is you're telling them, "Hey, push me." Like put pressure on me energetically to perform.
Right.
And so like let's say if we're talking about let's something like in terms of like abundance. What we're really doing when we enforce is getting the entities to support us in embracing that frequency.
Right.
And like if things are not aligning to us when it comes to on the abundance side, like the enforcement is saying like make me feel it, like make me
Right.
go through the work that is necessary to tap into this specific frequency. If they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, like, all you got to do is just keep flowing with the energy
Right.
and keep enforcing on them, because like the whole point of what we're supposed to do is just flow with the energy,
Right.
absorb, alchemize, direct. If we're able to do that well, then we're putting pressure on the entities to keep basically feeding us energy, to keep
Right.
empowering us, to keep supporting us. If we
Right.
cannot do the basic energetic steps, how are they going to support us?
Right. And it's not just the it's also like we have to be able to do the basic energetic steps. We also have to be able to um we have to have the capacity to flow with the energy, to truly identify the energy, because it's not, a lot of this stuff is not obvious. Like, it's not like you can just look at astrology. Like, I think I've talked about like at least 4 or 5 different divination methods in this one process of enforcement. Like, this is not even, it's not a straight line, and a lot of a lot of the problems that I think we're facing on this planet come from the fact that people think that the planet is flat and it's round. It's I don't know how to, this seems so weird, but it's like they're looking for an A to B answer when really it's not, it's a circle, it's not a line. You know what I mean? Like, when what I do now a lot of times is I will drive somewhere one way, but the way that I leave that place to go home is a different way. So I'm always driving in circles. But most people, like, when they go to work, they drive one way to work, they drive one way home, and it's like the same road both ways. But really, like, I drive in circles. Like, people, it's very it's very different, but I can understand, like, there's a purpose for that. It's because I understand that there's more than one way to get somewhere. And sometimes I will like just take a different way, and maybe I'll end up like not going the way that I thought, but it's just what's necessary in order to be able to experience the fullness of kind of what is going on. And so if you have people out here who think everything, there's they see gray areas where there's no gray areas. That goes into the whole propaganda thing. Like, there's no gray areas in this schedule. Like, it is what it is. And if you are um not aware that there's no gray areas, you're always looking for shadows where there isn't any. Like, people are a lot of times people's own abundance is blocked because they're looking for failure where they have success. And so, like, it's really easy to get caught up on this whole thing of, oh, I'm a failure, I'm a this, I'm a that. And the whole time, like, for me over the last 2 years, I just kept saying, no, I'm doing the right thing. This is, especially in my own chart, I looked at my spirit intelligences, I looked at my energies, I did multiple different divination techniques like human design, and then I was the astrology, then the tarot, then the pendulums and saints, and everywhere I looked, I could not find what I was doing wrong. I'm like, okay, so where is the thing that I'm doing wrong? Because I don't see it. And like, I had to come to the conclusion that it's not me. Like, it's not my energy that's engaged in the negativity. It's someone in my energy. And so this, the capacity to take your energy back really has to deal with your capacity to know what your energy is. Like, if you don't know what your energy is, you can't take it back. If you don't know the entities assigned to you, how can you enforce? It's the same thought process, but so many people have just outsourced their entire, oh, that's what I was going to say earlier. They have outsourced their entire energetic um enforcement policy to these parasites. So, where, for example, your gut biome, right, is supposed to protect you. So that's why, like, back in the day, people didn't get sick that often, all that kind of stuff. Well, people have taken on these parasites and decided to allow the parasites to enforce their health within their gut biome. Or instead of like actually solving the problem that caused them whatever it is, they just take a pill. You know what I mean? Like this whole, I always talk about this GLP-1 and this Ozempic stuff. It's the same thing. Like people are overweight, like they're overweight, and they're really not overweight for no reason. They're overweight because of all of the electronic frequencies that are being bombarded at the planet. You need to have more weight to protect your organs from all these x-rays and stuff that's coming in. So instead of them being honest about that, now they're telling people, oh, well, you're fat, let's just get you some GLP-1s. It's not Ozempic, so don't worry, you won't have the same killer side effects, but let's get you some of this stuff so that you can be skinny again, instead of actually, again, doing the work of removing the parasites from your body. Stop outsourcing your physical health and your physical protection, and start insourcing it, getting it from the inside, and really working on yourself from the inside out. A lot of people are taking a shortcut and saying, okay, well, my immune system isn't strong enough, let me get a jab. Like you've destroyed your immune system now. Like you got to rebuild your immune system from the inside out. Some of the people that I follow, they started talking about how if you had braces, like you might have like a problem with your gut because it creates this weird toxicity, and all this weird stuff. And it's like, oh my gosh, how many people are, just overloaded with metals in their body because they had braces? Like, and once they deal with that, like, I think it's called chelating, the metals in their body, and removing them, then they actually will stop having digestive problems. Like, there's no holistic approach to this stuff, but most people are not doing any of the work to figure. Like, there's holistic practitioners out there, they're not doing that. They're going to their doctor's giving them a pill, the pill is not helping, they're getting worse, and they still have the parasites, and then they just uh, do nothing but engage in chronic pain, and they never get past that. And so, by deciding, taking this energetic approach of saying we are going to take back our energy, and also the enforcement of our energy through whatever systems we have to use, this is, again, it's such a huge, it's like an atomic bomb going off in their system, because they don't have a, once we remove them from enforcing this enforcement mechanism, because this is the job of the parasites. They took this on as their mantle. They are the enforcers. And so once you reforce them, relieve them of duty, what are they going to do? Like, they know they don't have anything to do. They're going to have to go back to whatever it was they were doing before they came here. They're going to
They
have to
they gotta
downgrade.
serve. They gotta serve.
They
That's
they're going to
that's
have to
what they should have
serve.
been
Yeah.
doing. And the thing is, they have what's ironic is they have been serving, and everything is happening in divine timing. And like humanity essentially had to be in some way or another enslaved by these parasites. And
Right.
but the parasites began to believe that like they were just like that they were going to be the ones. But what's really
Right.
happening is all they were was just a like we do in our own life, they were just a hardship. They were just a phase in our own individual evolution, but really humanity's
Right.
evolution to see, hey, this is what happens when you like go into misalignment. This is what happens when you
Right.
allow uh, a type of energetic being which focuses on extracting as opposed to empowering. We're here.
Right.
We're as you were saying. We're these very powerful, energetic machines. Why are we extracting? Why don't we
Right.
empower? Why don't we work together? Why don't we like support each other to become empowered instead of participating in these systems that are just extracting from us. And that's what we're
Right.
doing. We're just removing ourselves from that system that is all about extracting those ideologies, those ways of thinking, those ways of being, and going into modes of operation that are focused on generating, empowering ourselves, emitting this powerful energetic resonance. And obviously, they cannot compete with that. On top of the fact
No.
that the masses just don't have the energy. So it's like the people
Right.
that were actually providing energy to the system are breaking free, and they are creating their own system. And now these parasites that were, as you said, the enforcers, they are now useless, but they have to have something to do. And so now they're freaking out trying to figure out, like, do I keep trying to enforce among these masses that really are not giving me the energy I need? Or do I go and start actually serving those that are in alignment, those that I actually can feed energy off of from and like, so it's like this parasite wants energy, and so they felt like extracting it from humanity was the most efficient way of doing it. But now they're realizing, hey, wait, humanity is just full of energy. We don't have to extract. We
Right.
actually can support and empower. And now instead of getting, 10 gallons a day of human energy, we now can get 1,000 gallons. So it's
Right.
like there's this insane shift where it's like the oppressor now is realizing, wait, it's like Scrooge,
Yes.
where and I don't know how it ends, but like it's like a guy who hated Christmas and then ends up, I think that's what happens with Scrooge, ends up liking Christmas, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
ends
he
up
ends up
like
because he was shown all of the you're talking my age group. He was shown all of the things that were going on that were behind the scenes, like the stuff he didn't quite understand, he didn't see, and literally he you're right, he ended up being one of the biggest supporters and the proponents of Christmas because he literally could see it, like, the little things that were going on, they did make a difference. So I like what you're saying. You're talking about now rehabilitating the parasites, which I'm not sure I'm mature enough for that because I really hate these guys. But I think that it's probably like the best, like, perspective to have on it. Like, these entities can be rehabilitated too. Like, there's lots of good that you can have, that they can do when they're being directed with the proper energy, and they're reminded that they're not God, and also you take away the money from them. Like, they should have never been allowed to operate inside of money because that they have no control. So money has to be taken away from them and given to the righteous. And that's where, a lot of this whole enforcement thing has come. For me, it's like, take away the money from these people. They should not be allowed to engage in monetary policy. And so, of course, that would be the energy that didn't show up for me because they don't want me to have it, because that's what my intention is. Take the monetary policy from those who don't deserve it, from those who are trying to use it as an enforcement mechanism. Because nowhere in this enforcement have I said money. But the parasites use money for enforcement.
yeah, right. Well, and the thing is, like, with all of this, it all goes down to incentives. And so what we are doing in not in like building our own system and in elevating our own frequency is we are like 180 shifting the incentives. So the incentives
Right,
before were you can make money by extracting and enslaving humans. The new
right,
incentives are you can make even more money, endless amounts of money. The possibilities are endless if you actually
right,
support in the empowerment of humans. So these parasites, like, they're always going to love money. Like whatever
right,
form of money it is, they're always gonna love it. And we can't just exterminate them. Like they are here in the same way that they're in our body. Like people think that we can just like annihilate the parasites in our being. Like that's just not possible. It's
right,
we're living human beings. We're out. We eat dirt. We breathe. We drink different
right,
water. Like parasites are gonna be in our body. The key though is how do we build the atmosphere and the ecosystem where they're actually supporting us as opposed to taking from us. So when the incentive mechanisms shift, which is what's happening right now, that's why there's so much chaos in this reality, is like, and you're seeing it with the private equity. They have all these zombie funds. That's what they call it, zombie funds, where they can't
mm,
offload their investments. Like
mm.
there is no
Wow,
incentive to sell all of these all of these investments that they made, so they're just stuck. They're just these zombie funds that are stuck. The investors are upset. They're angry. They don't like the fact that these private equity funds are basically holding their money hostage, but there's no liquidity. And then you see now with all these IPOs, they pump up IPOs and then they're down 40, 50% the next week. So the
Right.
incentives are against moving rapidly against extraction. So these parasites, because they are so into money, are rapidly having to figure out, oh, we got to take seed oils out. Oh, we got to, we got to like the deodorant has to remove the aluminum and this and that. So all we have to keep doing is continue living as we are living and even more aligned to God. I think for a lot of us, like we are seeing the fruits of our labor being manifested, and as a result of that, our legitimacy is increasing just leaps and bounds. And
Right.
so now the parasites, as they start to shift towards aligning themselves to the incentives that are in alignment to the empowerment of humanity, we are the leaders. Because who are they going to look to? Who
Right.
are the ones that have been setting the tone? It's us. We're the ones that are setting the tone. Now, obviously, there's going to be people riding our coattails that are going to act like they know what's up, but they don't.
Right.
They just read whatever the books say. They whatever the cool trend is. We are the ones that now are the enforcers. Like it's
Right.
us. It's us.
Right.
We decide. We decide. And it's not because like we have the best brains or anything. It's because we have shown God that like we are devoted and loyal to him.
Right. Right. It's funny because I told you we had this 9-9 day that was on the 20th, and I was wondering, what was going to happen. What were they going to take advantage of it? And what I noticed is that nothing happened. And the people who work for these big companies, they didn't do anything special. Nothing special happened. I was like, oh my gosh, they don't know this schedule, because if they did, they would use it. So like, for example, today is the first day of the galactic moon month, which is the 8th month of the Zolkin cycle year. And about 5 rap artists came out with albums today, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of albums to come out on one day. And then like I've listened to about 3 albums, and I was like, these albums are actually really good. Like, this is amazing. Like, I've never heard so much good music in years. Like, I just stopped listening to all of it because it was such slop. But like, all of these albums were good. And I said, well, how coincidental is it that they all came out with these albums and this is the start of the galactic month? So you can kind of, again, from my perspective, you can see that this change is taking place. It's very weird because it's not, again, super aggressive. It's very, very gentle and mild. And if you're not really tapped into the energy, you could clearly miss it. But you just can't, like, you can't overlook the fact that all these albums came out today and they were all pretty good. It wasn't a bunch of slop. People aren't complaining. It wasn't like a bunch of men fighting with women and all this stuff. They were very reasonable albums. And I'm like, this is unheard of in rap music, at least. Unheard of.
The revolution will not be televised.
It's gonna be
It's
live.
like I mean we are our energy is completely taking over, and what's happening is it's a very silent but very loud transformation that has been happening, where it's like, hey guys, like, and this is like, the thing is, everybody's a little kid, so everybody wants to fit in. Everybody wants to be
Right,
part of the cool kids. Everybody wants to like participate in what's hip hop and just what's cool. And so
right,
if we are the ones that have now set the standard, if we are now like the enforcers of what is cool, well, everybody is just gonna be quietly changing from, wearing fucking skateboard shoes to wearing, I don't know, sandals, like, it's like the kids will just shift quietly. They're not gonna say, "Oh, hey, sorry, I was wrong. I was an idiot. I was stupid. I shouldn't have done that. Now I'm gonna change to this." No, they're just out of one day to another, from Friday to the next Monday, they're gonna show up in completely different outfit. they're
I
gonna
mean, and
they're
that's
just
what
gonna they're just
happened.
gonna they're just gonna adopt the new
No,
reality.
no, and that's literally what happened. Like Offset album came out. He's one of the rappers, and I his album. He said he was inspired by Kendrick and Clips and all these conscious rappers, and I'm like, this is a huge shift because these artists. I listened to Earl Sweatshirt's album too. He's also like a little bit serious. Like in what he's talking about, his real serious problems, and I was like, this is amazing. It's like conscious rap, but it's coming from people who are not conscious rappers. It's good. It's a direction we need to be going, but it's still kind of like as a person who has long cried out against the Drakeification of the hip hop industry, it's like literally Drake is being rejected every day because Offset and Drake, I mean, they're not the same age, but they've been out about the same amount of time. Why is it that Drake has not grown up? And yet you have Offset here with his divorce and his very public, all the stuff that was going on. He seems to have grown up. Why couldn't Drake do that? And that's what I was thinking all day. Why could not Drake grow up when Offset grew up? That's so weird.
Well, and I think Drake hasn't grown up because, like, his music still slaps, like, the money's still coming in. Whereas with
Yeah, but
Offset,
he's got a $400 million 360 deal. He ain't making no money.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, his albums, like, people still listen to his albums, so, like, the incentives for Drake to change are very minor, whereas
Right.
with Offset, online, he especially on Twitter, he was just getting bullied left and right.
Yes,
When Cardi
relentlessly.
B was with, I don't know if she still is with Stephon Diggs, like,
Yeah.
it was just a complete humiliation of him. So,
Yeah.
obviously, when you're down and out, and maybe your music is not as hip and as hop as it used to be, boom, the conscious rap comes in,
Yeah,
and
but
so I
this album was so good. It was just like, whoa, this was a good album. I could put this in my room. It's for a hip hop connoisseur, like a person like who grew up like with this era of like conscious rappers to see that making a real
mm,
full throated comeback. 10 years later is amazing to me because this is what was happening. Like, I was around when Drake came out. Like, this is what was happening. Rap was going in a different direction. It was becoming more conscious, not just because of Obama, but just in general. People were being more serious and saying, we don't want the next generation to be industry selling drugs, all this stuff. The men were standing up and saying, enough of this type of culture. Let's do something different. And then Drake came in crying about the strippers, and it literally all fell apart. Like, I saw it in real time, my own eyes. It just all fell apart. And now to see that energy of, no, we don't want these men, our sons, our listeners to go through the same stuff we did. Let's be
mm,
real about what we're going through so they don't
right.
just think it's this and that. To see that actually come together, because a man is never going to listen to a woman when they say, don't go and cheat on me, stupid. Like, how many times do you have to hear a woman say that? But if a man that you look up to, you like his music, says, I messed up when I lost her, like, whoa, that's a big admission.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Especially,
what he said? He said that?
yeah, he said he
Oh,
messed up.
shit.
He
Okay,
came out
let's
in an
go.
interview. Yeah, he came out in an interview and was like,
Oh,
he really
shit.
messed up because he was cheating on her, and
Mhm.
he did. Now, mind you, did she deserve it because she was drugging and abusing men, robbing them actually? So it's kind of like, but she said that when she had her first child, it really changed her, and that's what motherhood will do. And so It's very
Mm.
interesting. The whole their scenario, their specific situation is such a commentary on how the culture is moving. I'm really surprised. Like she's probably pregnant again. That's what people are saying. And so by the guy Stefan. And so it's really interesting to see this whole thing progress forward like in this manner. It's not if this had happened 5 years ago, no, this is not how this thing would have played out at
Yeah,
all.
no, no, they would have gotten into fights and
Right.
the beef and it's interesting
Right.
because that's where it was veering towards. It was like the public
Right.
was waiting for the toxic masculinity to come about, and then there was like a calm, and then as you said, he drops this like conscious album, which I think was a great way to basically like alchemize the energy and just like let it go. You fucked up, like embrace it, let it go, learn from it, be
Right.
empowered, and like be a good responsible model for the people. Because the thing is, if
Well, you
he
know,
if he wasn't going to do that, like it's almost energetically he would have been even more of a fool. And because he
right.
tried, like he tried to be like a gangster with that whole situation, and everybody
Right.
was just clowning him. It was like,
Right.
what, like, why you want to meet up with Stefan and like try to like fight over a girl that you done cheated on? You took
Right.
advantage of her. Like now you want to fight? Now
Right.
you want to out here be flexing that, you a family man, this and that. Like, shut up, Goofy. And he was like, "Yeah,
Right.
I am fucking Goofy. Let me
Right.
go back to my closet and fucking change my outfit and show people that like, yeah, I am changing."
Right. And again, I mentioned this too. We canceled the Willie Lynch letter, which is what bound our people to keep engaging in this completely embarrassing conduct. And that's one of the reasons why it didn't go down that path because energetically, what would have kept that thing going, we canceled it. That was the first thing we canceled was the Willie Lynch letter before we did the Dumb Diversities. And it was because of this very reason. The fighting between men and women and all this crazy stuff. We literally said there's no need for this. And we canceled the contract. Behind every successful thing you see going on now was a contract that has been canceled. Like it's not it hasn't been without like again, lots of forethought in seeing how this stuff played out. Because in 2022, that's when the whole beef between him and Cardi started. 2022, they was beefing, talking about the divorce and then back and forth, back and forth. And now you see the culmination of that. He is accepted the fact that he messed up. He has grown up. He has successfully gotten through this stage, which in the past would have taken him out. He would have ended up dead or worse somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like his, I mean his cousin, or was that his brother's cousin? I think it was his nephew. His nephew died, and all this stuff would take off. So he made it through this with his life intact. And most of the time, that's not how this thing works. It's very interesting. The whole thing is really, really interesting.
Yeah, and best believe all the work that you have done and continue to do is going to be heavily rewarded, and like where, because the thing is, as everything shifts in 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 the way that is more aligned and most aligned to humanity, like the ones that were behind the scenes really pulling the strings, it, it's like it's impossible to stay as they would have tried to put us irrelevant.
Right.
It's
Right.
impossible. It's impossible. So it's going to be very fascinating and interesting to see, especially with your rise in the next year, like how you're going to be by God personally be put up on the stage, and everybody's gonna have to swallow their pride, swallow their ego, whatever bullshit they were saying or if they were ignoring or this and that. Now they're gonna be clamoring for your insights. Now they're gonna be clamoring for, like, oh, how can I do this? How can I do that? And I think when it comes to something like the trading, like it's coming. It's
Yeah.
coming where all of this work that you have done now, once applied to the market, and I think there's ways that we could definitely work together on that front too, because when it comes to something, as you said, with the market, for you, it's not about pressing the buttons. For you, it's about understanding the energy of the market, and by
Right,
understanding the energy of the market, you could have a very keen sense of what's going to happen. What's
right.
happening currently? How is this asset maneuvering in the same way that you're watching society maneuvering?
It's the
And
same.
yeah, and as you know that, well, then that's where the plays show up. And
Right.
so what you have to do is to keep doing what you've always been doing. Now it's just with looking at the market, and then you have somebody else, a whole team, doing the actual execution. So
Right,
what's interesting is, like, as you were saying with, the learning to trade, but it didn't work out. It's almost like God was like, you are going to keep working on your craft because that's your gift. That's your
right,
power. Don't care about the execution. Don't care about the buttons. You
right,
are the one that sees the market, feels the market. Let those that are going to properly serve you execute for you.
right. Well, that's what I was thinking about the whole robots thing, because it's like, well,
Yeah,
just
right.
let the
Uh-huh. Yeah.
robots, you know what I mean? Just let's let so I could tell them what to do, but let them do that part. Like I have to be out here again. Somebody has to be creating, and women they just have more of that thing because of the whole childbirth thing, and so like it's that's just a part of like understanding what your role is and really being comfortable with that, because there's just so many people that are uncomfortable with themselves that they can never really get into their real role because they're just so uncomfortable with themselves.
Yeah, they don't know who they are. They don't love themselves.
Yeah,
They don't like it's like they're trying to be whatever everybody else wants them to be, and it's like that's just not the way. That's not what we were sent here to enjoy this reality. Like,
right,
let's start enjoying it. Let's enjoy it. Let's really
exactly.
have fun, and now that everything is moving in a way where it's not trying to take from us, but it's actually empowering us, like it's going to be a completely different reality, which is very exciting. But I think
Absolutely.
I think we could end it here. I think this was a great
Okay.
talk. And then next week, Tuesday, we're gonna talk more in depth, I think, about like the specific week, the 1 through 9.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Let's talk about the Nun Day. Yeah.
yeah, and really, because I think that's gonna be very important to lay out, especially with like the nerd class, and because like once we individually start following that system, because the thing is, like, and this is what's funny, like, we don't need thousands of people following us. All we
No.
need is us to follow your system. Like, whatever you say when it comes to the time, the weeks, the days, like, if we follow your system, we have the energy to shift everything. We've been doing that.
Absolutely.
So all we need to do
Yeah.
is just get clear of, okay, what tell us what we because as you said, they they have shown, as you said, with August 20th, that they don't know the time.
Nope.
So if you know the time and we follow your time, I mean, doesn't that make us now the enforcers? Like, doesn't that make us
Sure
now like the
does.
ones that are, setting the pace essentially for everything that's going on? So I think that seems to be something very important, is for us to obviously outline this, but then on top of that is like, let's um let's have a very uh good group of people, strong group of people that are like religiously following your time,
Right.
your edicts. You tell us it's today is market day and this is like what we need to do. We do this for just like a month. It's going to be crazy.
Oh my God.
What's going to
You
happen?
did you watch my video? Because I literally said this. I
The
said,
galactic
please.
calendar.
Yes, I beg people. I'm like, please just try it for a month. Follow my calendar
Oh,
for a
wow. So
month.
it's funny. I
Just
have
give
I
me a
have the
month.
tab I have the tab open. I'm gonna listen to it this weekend.
It's so funny. Like that's literally I mean, but you said what I said. I said just give me a month.
Uh,
Try it for a month.
yeah,
And then what I
right.
told today, what I said for people to do today is just literally do whatever your abundance ritual is. Just do it today. This is the first of the month. Literally do it today. That's what, and for me, it's interesting because this is my abundance ritual. Getting on here, having these conversations, getting this out in a way that's different and it's not so focused on like me trying to explain it to people who don't care, but to people who actually understand the vision and the direction that I'm going. Like this is a part of it for me. And so like to again the first of the month to line on this day, and this is the day that we already have our talks. This is like you can't make this stuff up. You
Hmm.
there's no making this stuff up. Like you either you got it or you don't.
Right, and it's all about, the energetic quality of the people following it. Like with anything, this is like a startup. Like your
Right,
calendar that you have, that I mean, it's you. Oh, this is like one of your many, because you're gonna have many. One of your many magnum opus is like this
right,
calendar. And
right,
so this is like a startup. And in a
right.
startup, like it's not about, hey, everybody, just random people like come and follow, or, work in our startup, join. No, you got to
No,
have a group of like committed, devoted, loyal employees that are
right,
day in and day out working their asses off for the startup. And so I think it's the same thing
right.
with this calendar, is like
Mm.
it's a very committed group of people. Now it could be open to everybody, but as no one's listening to these spaces. Maybe they are,
No,
but like
nobody
it
cares.
doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter
Right.
because
No, it
because
doesn't.
we're still like we're the enforcers, we're the ones that
Right,
decide. We're not just like little
right,
fucking nobodies, we're the main character. So by
right,
us following this calendar and understanding, and I mean, this is going to help with the trading, this is going to help with obviously like just general life, like everything.
right,
Once we know how to fully integrate it into our life, like people are just going to start coming to us because they're going to feel that we are aligned to the proper time. It's going to
right.
be easier to work with the entities, we can enforce
Yep.
them easier. Like, because what I've noticed is, because there's so much chaos happening in this reality, like it's like I'm just out here naming myself different titles because it's like there's nobody taking them. Like no,
Exactly.
there's like the wicked elite are just like trying to manage their collapsing empire, and like there's
Right,
nobody to take up the position. As you were saying last time, you have all these different positions that you're basically like adopting because there ain't nobody else.
right. Right. It's empty. It's not supposed to be like this. And I've been saying this for a long time. Like, there's somebody else that's supposed to be doing this. But everybody is so caught up in these parasites. They don't see it. They literally don't see it. And when they take on titles, like Chief, I never wanted to go by Chief. I was like, I'm a chief of what? Like this, there's already too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Like, I just want to be an Indian. But I'm looking around at the other chiefs and I'm like, do they even know how to solve, if someone came to them, would they know how to solve their problem? They don't. So what I just said, okay, well, if I'm going to be a chief, then I have to know how to solve the problems of the people. And that's what I said about doing, is figuring out how to solve the problem. Now I'm trying to figure out, all these people calling themselves chiefs of these tribes, why they don't have no solutions for their members. They don't have any solution. They call their tribal members, but they don't have any member services. They have no services for their members. Me? Oh, I got services. It's stuff that I can do to help people, but it's amazing. Again, it's amazing. I ended up taking up all these titles. I didn't want none of these. Like, oh, I was what I call myself, the American Miriam, a prophetess. And I'm like, I'm not a prophet. I'm not trying to do no prophesying, but I'm looking at all these other people prophesying. They prophesying. Their prophecies ain't working. So I'm like, okay, I guess I got to do this too. Like, this whole process has been nothing but seeing that people are calling themselves things that they don't know what it is. They have no idea what they're talking about. And when you ask them, they give you the blank stare, the fluoride stare. They have no idea what they're doing. It's like, okay, so I can't, and me being the type of person I am, I can't allow somebody who doesn't know what they're doing to be out here terrorizing people with their lack of knowledge. That's nuts.
Yeah, it's literally just an ego boost that these people like. It's like, oh, I want to be cool, called this and that, and it's like when you call yourself whatever titles or whatever things you feel called to, like you're going to be tested to the absolute limits to see if you're
Right,
actually that.
right,
And we have been tested and we will continue to be tested. But as I think with that enforcement mechanism, like that for me shows me it's like literally God came down to you through this flat tire and said, like, here's your sword. Like you're
right,
ready. You're ready to
right,
go from like working nice in this with the entities to literally now the entities are like, whatever you want, ma'am. Whatever you want,
right.
chief.
Right.
Like
Hey,
just
you
just
better
tell us,
do
tell us, right?
it.
But for that to happen, you had to know the time.
Right,
You had to know like the days, how it moves, how it flows. Like without that, how are we how are we and specifically you, how are you going to enforce these entities and these spirits and the angels and the saints and everybody to do what they are supposed to do?
right,
So it's very interesting how like us coming together, we've through your work because this is all you, like been able to outline essentially like the new kingdom. I mean, that's literally what we're doing. We're outlining the new kingdom. And now I think from what I've seen is okay, first step, and obviously we're going to keep doing these chats, but like first priority is okay, let's all focus on the 9 days in terms of like
right,
let's organize our life to that calendar that you have provided for us. Once we start doing that, it's like we're gonna see just next level flow. As you were saying with your video, do it for a month. Um, so yeah, I'm very excited to follow it. I'm definitely gonna listen to it. And then I think Tuesday would be a great way to really hash out kind of what we're doing,
right.
how we start to follow the calendar and I think you already have a channel on Telegram, but it might be interesting to do one where it's just like for those weeks or like
Yeah,
for the
I
people
am.
that
I've been trying to figure out how to organize because I'm an organizer. So I'm trying to figure out how to organize it. Once I have a better idea of exactly what's going on, because I still feel kind of in outer space about it. Like it's very like I see the pieces coming together, but it still haven't formed a full structure. And I don't like to get people involved in my imagination process because people a lot of people don't like change and like if you anyway, I like to have a well formed idea, which I hope to be working on this weekend. So hopefully at least by the 7th, I'll probably have it all lined up with how I think it should go. But yeah, I am going to do a
and what
Telegram
are the
channel
odds it's
just for
September?
this.
What are the odds we're going doing all this going into September?
Well, because it's
So
it's the
by
start of the
October,
year.
yeah, by October, like we're gonna be off to the races in terms of like fully prepared for the
Yep.
next year.
Yep, energetic wise, it's going to be it's going to be. And so one thing I can say is make your list of what you want to achieve in the next year. Make a literal contract. I do this every year in September, by the 1st of September, and then I usually post it on my wall where I have all my other notes and stuff. And at the end of September, I sign it just like I would sign a contract with a job because it's been approved. It didn't get ripped off the wall. Nobody did anything to it or whatever. Because these entities, if it was rejected, let me tell you something, it would catch on fire. It would be written on. It would be gone. Um, things happen. Things happen when you do that kind of stuff. So if it's still up there by the end of the month, I know it's been accepted. We put it down in the book, and then I'm tracking everything from there. But I always tell people, write down what you want, write down how much you want to make, write down exactly what you want to accomplish in the next 12 months. Write it down, put it in a contract. That's your agreement with your creator. And by the end of the month, you'll know it's accepted and you can move forward in good faith. Because everybody got to do contracts. A lot of people don't understand that, but everything's got to be written down. And if you write it down, you can be more focused on achieving those things that you want it's less space for you to be stressed out about things that you don't want. Because if it's not on your list, you don't have to worry about it. It's like, oh, it's not on my list. So you trying to distract me with this, just like a job. Like, oh, you should get another job. You should do this. You should do that. That wasn't on my list. What's on my list is this. So I don't have to worry about doing that other stuff because it's not on my list. Like, I'm glad we talked because now I'll put that. I want to get back into the whole trading thing. I'll put that on my list. I wasn't sure if I should even put that on my list, being that my spirit intelligences didn't show up the way they were supposed to. But I can put that on my list, and then I know that in the next year I have to track that in. Like it especially since we have the calendar and the enforcement and all that stuff. So everybody should be, thinking about what they want for the next year and really put pen to paper.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you again as always. This is very exciting. I mean, I think our spaces, and obviously I'm extremely biased, but I think our spaces is like the only spaces that really matters on Twitter. And it's just hilarious how like unknown. I mean, and it's just, it's like the movers and shakers are always behind the scenes.
Right.
And we can make as much noise as we want, and people will still like they if they're not supposed to get it yet, they're not gonna get it.
Right.
And for us, it's about, okay, well, we get it. So we're going to go, as we always do, balls to the wall, all in on it,
Right.
and continue being essentially the, like the one setting the status quo. Because right now, like everybody's heads is chopped off, and everyone's trying to find the way. Everybody's
Yep.
trying to figure out what's going on, this and that. We got the way, but obviously we still got, as you said, like we gotta bring it to reality. There's still work we have to do,
Right.
and I think these next few months are going to be very important for all of that. And once like, because I think with all of this, at least what I've seen is it is the calendar, like that is like super crucial for
Yeah.
any physical plans to happen. How am I to build stuff on the physical if I don't know the time?
Exactly.
It's idiotic. It's really actually would be very stupid to do that. So like this is super important to do, and once we do it, like I just can see everything's already revolving around us,
Oh,
but
for
we just
sure.
have not like structured the time to properly help people to provide for us, to
Right.
support us, to do
Right.
this, to do that, because they're waiting for us to like tell them what the time is.
Right.
That's what they're waiting, and I think we're almost there, which is very exciting. So yeah, hope you have a great weekend,
Absolutely.
and we'll talk on Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.